You know, when you think about it, the Ptolemies might live up to the saying that incest is wincest. Because, like, think about it. Like, in the first Diadochi Wars, Ptolemy the first kind of was, you could argue, the winner because he accomplished his goal. Of all the Diadochis who were trying to, reunite the Empire of Alexander and reform it, Ptolemy had the most, I guess, practical goal, the most realistic goal, in that all he wanted was his incest dynasty. He just wanted Egypt. And so he took it and he held it and he accomplished it. Um he and he's the only one of the original Diadochi to live to old age and to pass peacefully. So I feel like you could say in his era, he won. He accomplished his objective. He never reached out for more than that. And he got to pass away peacefully, unlike all his contemporaries. And he got to establish a dynasty. And you could even argue that the Ptolemies in the long run were the winners of all the successor kingdoms because they outlasted everyone else. The Ptolemies were the longest lasting of the dynasties of Alexander's successors. So again, I feel like you can definitely make the argument that incest is wincest, and they proved it. Um, I'm sorry, every time we talk about the Ptolemies, I'm always making fun of them for the incesting, even though a lot of Egyptian dynasties did that. If anything, they were just being culturally respectful, by doing that. Dude, you know what? I hate this family tree. The only other family tree to give me a headache was the Julio Claudian family tree. I hated looking at that. But the Ptolemies also, because I don't even want to call it like a family tree. It's more like a family circle or like a tree without branches. And it doesn't help that they named all the guys Ptolemy and all the women Cleopatra. So it's just confusing because you're like, which Ptolemy, which Cleopatra? It is a miracle that these guys lasted as long as they did. you know? And I'm sorry, I should probably get to it. Today we're going to be learning about the Ptolemies. We're going to be looking at a video from Overly Sarcastic Productions. And this one is about the Ptolemies, so I'm really looking forward to definitely seeing how they portray this very interesting family and dynasty, you know. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you want to watch the original video without my yapping, the link is down in the description down below. It's always the first link. And if you want to support me and my channel, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help my small but humble channel grow, and I'd appreciate it very much. Now, with that said, and now without any further ado, let's get to it, shall we? Let's watch from Overly Sarcastic Productions, The Ptolemies.
Hello everybody. Welcome to probably one of the weirdest episodes of the Overly Sarcastic podcast that you will ever listen to. So, I just today, like not even an hour ago, had a lecture on the Ptolemies, and for the first time ever, I felt the need to just go home and record it, because, wow, holy crap, never has every fiber of my being been telling me, Blue, just sit down and say all of these things. So I'm a little bit crazy right now because I'm crazy. But I've got my notes in front of me, and I'm just going to try to explain in a way that will not increase your understanding of history at all, but it should, at the very least, entertain you, and hopefully you share some of my insanity because, yikes. Yeah. So
this is this is the most accurate response to learning about the Ptolemies I've ever seen. Yeah, this is exactly how I felt when I was learning about these guys. Like, wow,
Basically, when we talk about history, for the most part, there's the Greek world, which is before Rome, and there's the Roman world, which came after Greece. And there's this weird intermediate part between Alexander's campaigns and the Second Punic War, which was like Greece's last big hurrah and Rome's first big hurrah.
Yeah, it's called the Hellenistic Age, I believe. And believe it or not, that's actually my favorite era of history. The Diadochi Wars, the Hellenistic Age, basically from the rise of Alexander all the way to the Roman conquest of Greece. This in-between era, which I think is the most underrated era in human history. Definitely, everyone kind of jumps after Alexander straight to the Punic Wars and Rome rises. But like, it's my favorite era because, again, for those of you who are new, I'm a huge fan of Greek history. I'm obsessed with Greek history. It's actually my favorite culture, the Greeks. They have my favorite culture to learn from, and my favorite history is the Greeks. And and also in a militaristic age perspective, it also has my favorite military, like the Sarissa phalanx of the Macedonians, and combined with, again, I'm a huge fan of pikes, so the Sarissa is like my favorite weapon. The pike is my favorite weapon, and the phalanx is my favorite formation, and it being in my favorite era among the Greeks, my favorite people to learn about, you can start to see why I'm such a huge fan of the Diadochi Wars and the Hellenistic Age. And I wish they would really make a Game of Thrones-esque series about the Diadochi Wars, because I really think it basically is Game of Thrones, but like with no dragons. You replace the dragons with war elephants. Like, it has everything else that Game of Thrones has. Even the incest. So again, you could, like, HBO, make a show about the Diadochis. That's my dream. If there's anything that I wish could happen in life, is that someone made a show about the Diadochi Wars. But yeah, again, my favorite era of history. So sorry, I'm just gushing about about this era and the wars of the successors by Alexander's successors.
There's this period of like 150 years where no one really bothers to talk about what's going on, and everyone says, oh, look, it's the Hellenistic world, and yay, but no one knows what that means. So,
with checking.
Basically, Alexander had no clear line of succession because he was like, 12? Nah, he's like 23, when he died of either alcohol poisoning or poisoning. So his kingdom was basically split up between his generals. So there was a kingdom in Macedon, some people in Greece.
Yeah, that's the thing. Alexander actually did have a son. He died in his early 30s, like 32 or 33, I think. He had a son with the Persian Roxana, but yeah, xenophobia definitely was a big part of the Macedonian culture. They didn't like what they viewed as a half-breed, ruling. And so there's the idea that when Alexander died and they asked who would rule his empire, he said to the strongest. And some people have even, I've heard, debated if he actually said that or if the Diadochi generals made it up to justify their wars. Either way, Alexander did have a son, but he ended up dying in the Diadochi Wars. He was killed by one of the successors, Cassander. So, yeah, Alexander's empire would never be restored or ruled by one person ever again.
People in Egypt, where he took a little detour on his way through Persia, and his kingdom in Persia. So basically, Greece, Persia, and Egypt were the three kingdoms. And in Egypt was one of his guys, Ptolemy, who probably should have died before he had kids because, wow. Yeah, so things get weird. I'm just gonna go for it. So the first Ptolemy is Ptolemy the First Soter, or Savior in Greek, and he's interesting because he had to straddle this divide between being Greek and being Egyptian, so you see a lot of busts of him in the Greek fashion, but also a lot of busts of him in the Egyptian fashion, and they don't look at all alike. It's actually really interesting.
That's hilarious. Yeah, the Ptolemies didn't actually learn how to speak Egyptian. That's the funniest part. They were the minority rulers. Yet it wasn't until I believe Cleopatra, the last Cleopatra, the famous one with Mark Antony. I think she's may have been one of the few, if not the only one, of the Ptolemy family to actually learn Egyptian and speak it, which is insane, you know? Yeah, for sure.
And that's cool. He's fine. But he has a kid whose name is Ptolemy II, Philadelphos, who has his name after love of sibling, Delphos, his brother, but really it should be Philadelphia, which is sister, because he married his sister, which is weird to us because we live in a mostly Western world, but in Egypt this was the norm, so he was basically trying to blend in and show a very Egyptian face to the world and marry his sister, which the Greeks thought was very weird, and he proudly took...
Yeah. It was weird. I get it, like, you know, Egyptian dynasties did practice incest, the Ptolemies weren't the first to do it, but man, is that a weird... Of all the things you could have done to definitely integrate yourself into, the Egyptian way, I like that incest was the one they were gung-ho about. Not learning the language or anything, incest, that's how we're gonna win them over.
Took the name Philadelphos, which means he was, I guess, okay with it, and hopefully his sister was too. And it's actually kind of funny because clearly the Greeks didn't like this at all, the idea of some Macedonian going off and marrying his sister. There's one poet whose name I forgot, it doesn't matter, who wrote this big panegyric thing in, you know, ridiculous praise of him, comparing him to the marriage between Zeus and Hera because, oh look, they're brother and sister, but it's okay because they're married. And you can tell he's stretching because marrying your siblings is weird. But that's nowhere near all that goes on with the Ptolemies because it's insane. So next, oh, he's cool. Also, Ptolemy II's cool because he started the translation of the Old Testament into Greek, the Septuagint, which means 70 gints. That's not true, it means books. So then there's Ptolemy III, Ptolemy Euergetes, who was a different story, but he was so mad at the Macedonian leader in Greece that he actually funded a Spartan campaign against this other, you know, full Macedonian guy. These two are Macedonians who hate each other. And he took the Spartan king's daughters and then wife as ransom, which is kind of sad but makes for an excellent poem. And I might read that at some point. But he's fun, I guess. That's really all he did. And up until this point, the Ptolemies were big players in the Aegean, which is a fact. And you may think that it's not really too crazy yet, but after Ptolemy III, things start to go downhill, and then things start to go really downhill really quickly, to the point where I have no idea how on earth we got Cleopatra, who was a Ptolemy, from the mess that I'm about to go into. So next is Ptolemy IV, Ptolemy Philopator, who is notorious for killing his mother and brothers. So I guess Pator was the only one who was left alive. Fun. He was also notoriously self-indulgent and had tons of orgies in the palace all the time. He once had an affair with either a brother and sister or a man and wife. I don't know, but it's weird. He basically banged everything that moved. He's like an Egyptian Alcibiades, almost.
Alright, so that's interesting. The dude he just had sex everywhere, huh? Murdered his family, then just started having sex with everyone after. Okay. Again, the fact that these guys are the longest lasting of the successor dynasties and kingdoms is kind of insane. The more you learn about them, like, how did you outlast everybody? It literally is a divine miracle, you know what I mean?
Then things start to go a little more downhill, and we have Ptolemy the Fifth Epiphantes, which means something in Greek. And by this point, Egypt had basically lost all of its Aegean holdings, just everything. It was gone. They were pretty much just confined into Africa, because they were doing a really bad job of ruling Egypt, because they just cared about having sex and getting money and power and things. I can't even read my notes. So, one reason that this guy is actually cool is because he was first made king, big air quotes, at a very young age, but like 12 years later, when he became properly king, he sent out a big, huge decree to all of the places in Egypt that was like, hey, look, yay, I'm king now, isn't that super cool? And he wrote it in Egyptian hieroglyphs, Egyptian Demotic, which was the common language, and ancient Greek. So, some 1,700 years later, no. 2,000 years later, almost on the dot. When Napoleon shows up in Egypt, he's like, oh, what's this giant stone thing? Oh, hey, it's the Rosetta Stone, which is like really the only reason we know anything about Egypt is because we have the Rosetta Stone and we decoded Egypt based off of the Greek. So
that is cool, you know? We definitely owe that to him. So that's a pretty big contribution to Egyptology. And, you know, uncovering more history. So yeah, I'd say that's a good thing in the long run, scientifically, historically, culturally. I'd say that's a pretty big win, you know, in my book.
Cool, but he is otherwise not very important. Besides, he married a foreign princess, Cleopatra the First, not the one that you know. It's a different one, completely irrelevant. She was daughter of some other guy from Syria, basically.
Yep.
And then there's Ptolemy the Sixth, who married his sister.
Of course.
Philometor was his name. Ptolemy the Sixth Philometor. He loved his mother. I guess he didn't kill all the other members of his family because he married his sister. And Ptolemy the Sixth is where things start to go way downhill. And my craziness and horrible delivery in this video, I'm sure, starts to make itself apparent. So, where's the chart?
Oh boy.
So Ptolemy the Fifth and Cleopatra the First had 3 kids. Ptolemy the Sixth, Ptolemy the Eighth, and Cleopatra the Second. So Ptolemy the Eighth was doing his own thing, and Ptolemy the Sixth married his sister Cleopatra. Again, you're starting to see a trend here. Surely the gene pool is just getting devastated by this. And
at this point, it's like a gene puddle, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's falling. It's falling apart so hard. Even the Targaryens would probably look at this and be like, dude, chill out. I make way too much fun of the Ptolemies. I feel like people are gonna hate me because I'm always kind of making fun of it, but you have to admit it's a little wild.
Ptolemy the Sixth is the one who's in charge. He's ruling things, and Ptolemy the Eighth doesn't really like this. They didn't get along very well because they're both named Ptolemy. It's like, I'm 6, you're 8, I'm better than you, you suck, you know, that kind of stuff. So Ptolemy the Eighth goes over to Rome. He was like, yeah, Rome, help me, I'm dumb and stupid, and I'm a king who can't solve his own problems. And Rome's like, all right, guys, shut up. So Rome steps in and settles it. They're basically playing the mediator here because Rome is, after the Punic War, is powerful enough to do pretty much whatever it wants, and it realizes that Egypt is just a mess. They send a letter to someone I don't know or care who that basically says, Egypt is such an amazing country. It has so many people. It's so rich. It's so fertile. If only it was ruled by decent kings, they'd be so powerful. It would be insane. But obviously they're not, because these kings, like I said, care more about having sex and money and things than actually ruling anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. When the Romans finally conquer Egypt and like start taking control, it immediately is a big shift, because really what Egypt needed was competent leadership. Like, the potential was there for them to be a powerhouse, especially considering that they're kind of known as the breadbasket of the ancient world. Like, after the first Ptolemy, who I think definitely utilized Egypt's resources and wealth to its best potential, I feel like they kind of lost the plot, and they just all descended into, you know, their own debauchery. The rest of the Ptolemies, as it kind of went on, they descended deeper and deeper into debauchery and drunken promiscuity, and it just kind of all fell apart. So, yeah, it's fun because after the Punic Wars and Rome's rise to prominence, essentially the Romans just told everyone what to do. There was a point where I think it was Antiochus, it was after Antiochus the Third, maybe the fourth, or one of the future Antiochuses actually managed to take Egypt. Like the Seleucid Empire had Egypt in its grasp, and then Rome just wrote a letter to them telling them to piss off out of Egypt or else, and they did exactly that. So Rome was already basically in charge of the world at this point. So it is funny, and even you see that here, like. One of the later Ptolemies actually basically says, when I die, Rome, you can have Egypt. And, yeah, so technically, I guess Rome had a claim to Egypt from one of the Ptolemies themselves, which is funny to think about.
I was thinking in the middle of this class, I talked about the Borgia like it was the most insane thing, but no, the Ptolemies are every level of worse, and I'm not even done yet. So, Ptolemy the Eighth, who is called Phuscon, which is fat. I feel like that wasn't the name that he chose for himself. Poor old Ptolemy the Eighth gets kicked out by Ptolemy the Sixth, who brings in a foreign king, Antiochus the Fourth, who's from Syria. He's one of the Seleucid kings. And they co-rule together for a little while, and then Rome steps in, is like, what the hell are you doing? No, this is insane, you go get out of here. Rome is basically like the annoyed uncle who has to babysit the kids while the dad's away at work. The dad being Alexander, who died like 100 years ago at this point. Actually, no, 200 years ago. Yeah. So anyway, Rome steps in and says, all right, you foreign king, get out of here. Ptolemy the Eighth, you're good, you can come back. But you guys, you Egypt people, are basically in our faith. Infidum is the the Latin words. So then after that mess, Ptolemy the Sixth dies, and his sister and wife, Cleopatra II, then marries Ptolemy the Eighth, who again is also her brother.
Dude, banging both of your brothers in one lifetime is insane work.
So she's married one brother, and now she goes to marry the other brother after the first one dies. So that's okay, but it gets worse because
I love how he is delivering this, because this is the perfect, way to break this down. There's no way you can, deliver this with, a straight face, okay? It just keeps getting worse and worse the more you dig down this rabbit hole. I would kind of want a show about the Ptolemies, but, just play it as straight as possible. It would still be the most unhinged thing you've ever seen. You know what I mean?
Ptolemy the Sixth and Cleopatra the Second had a daughter, Cleopatra the Third. So Ptolemy the Eighth, who's in charge, now has a wife who's his sister and a stepdaughter who he also marries, which causes.
Oh, God is. Oh, that's creepy. Oh. Okay, my brain's hurting thinking. So, his brother and sister have a kid, and so his brother dies, so then he marries his sister, and he marries his previous brother's kid that he also had with his sister. So, his niece, but oh, that is. I'm telling you, the Targaryens would look at this and be like, ew. You know what I mean? Ew.
Lots of problems, and the inscriptions are hilarious because you see this pharaoh and two wives behind them. He described one as the sister wife, and one was the marriage wife, which doesn't make it better. It just still makes it weird. And,
Again, these guys outlasted all the other successor kingdoms. Make of that as what you will.
I started.
Ill.
yeah, so when you have two wives, who were basically made to compete and happen to be mother and daughter, they start fighting in about 131 AD. That's the most history you'll get out of this entire podcast, is that there was a civil war of sorts. And then Ptolemy the Eighth runs off to Cyprus with Cleopatra the Third, the daughter, the younger one. And I think now is just a good time to take a step back and do a little checkup on what's been happening. So
Okay.
we have a line of kings, twicely inbred, and one who married his sister after she married her other brother who was also king, and then their daughter became the new king's wife, who is the second wife after his sister, and they're fighting each other, and the king takes his niece, who he's married to, and runs off to Cyprus. And then, plot twist, now getting back to the story, the mother, Cleopatra II, had a child with, god damn it, had a child with, what's his name? Ptolemy the Eighth. And this guy's Ptolemy the Seventh, whose name's Ptolemy the Seventh because historical records didn't clear up until after everyone figured out what the names
Oh
were.
my god.
So he was born later or something, no one really knows. And
You know, when you have incest, you create, like, children with, like, a lot of genetic, like, defects, right? Like, there are... I think there was, like, a Habsburg, or, like, that was born, that was, like, his like, incredibly crippled in life due to how much inbred he was. I don't even want to imagine how some of these people look like, or what defects they may have had, because this is why you don't... That is... Let's just watch the video.
Cleopatra II sends Ptolemy the Seventh, little baby Ptolemy, over to Cleopatra the Third and her uncle and husband, Ptolemy the Eighth, and Ptolemy kills him and chops him up into tiny pieces and sends it back to Cleopatra II on her birthday.
This family is messed up, dude. This is one of the most messed up families I've ever learned about, bro.
So, yeah. Just nothing like opening up a dismembered body of your child for your birthday. One for each candle.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's dark, that's dark. I'm gonna forget I said that. Plot twist, that joke was funny, I'm keeping it in. So, yeah, that happens, and then, the second, third, 10th plot twist is Cleopatra the Third, the niece, and her uncle, husband, Ptolemy the Eighth, come back to Egypt, and the three of them live in a happy family again, and since Ptolemy the Eighth feels really bad about murdering his son, they decide to elevate him to a lesser god rank. So again, we're back to the two wives, one king setup with mother and daughter, plus brother / uncle, and they're doing their thing, and then Ptolemy the Eighth dies, and then we're stuck between two kids, Ptolemy the Ninth and Ptolemy the Tenth, after Cleopatra the Second and the Third are the only ones left. So they're arguing over...
Dude, I feel like I'm gonna get an aneurysm just watching this and my mind is playing the mental gymnastics of what you would call them. I'm afraid I'm gonna get, like... This is enough to, like, make someone's brain shut down trying to keep track of this garbage, bro. This nonsense before us.
which one should be king.
Oh my gosh.
And then Ptolemy the Ninth becomes king, because he was, like, older or something. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's funny. So then he marries another woman named Cleopatra, and then she dies, and then Ptolemy the Ninth marries another woman named Cleopatra, and then when he dies, she marries Ptolemy the Tenth.
Oh my gosh.
What the hell? Guys. And that's where the lecture ended because we ran out of time, but honestly, riddle me this, how the hell do we get from that to Cleopatra, arguably the smartest woman in the ancient world? Because
Yeah, that's insane. How usually we hear the longer incest goes, the more mental and physical, like, issues a person will have. How did one of the most intelligent people, Cleopatra, come from this? It's only a miracle, honestly.
I'm Googling this right now. Here, go on a ride with me. Ptolemy the 10th, Cleopatra. This is the weirdest video you will ever see on this channel. Actually, no, there was the April Fool's video, that was pretty funny. Okay, so Ptolemy the 10th died in 88 BC. And Cleopatra was born in 69 BC. So between like triply inbred child Ptolemy the 10th to Cleopatra, there was a span of like 30 years, 20 years. That's it. And we get from this mess to Cleopatra. How? Oh, I need to stop, but like, good lord.
Yeah.
That's the most insane history I've ever seen.
Honestly.
This is the legacy of ancient Greece. Ancient Athens is like, yeah, we're gonna be so cool, we're gonna rule over all the Greeks, and Macedon's like, lol, nope, just kidding, it's us, and then Alexander dies drunk at a party, and this shit happens. No! Thank you very much for tuning into the 12th episode of the Overly Sarcastic Podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I need a drink, and I will see you all later.
Yeah, honestly, I don't blame him for being for his brain being fried. Honestly, mine is too. Just, I was trying to, like, right now during this video, piece together, like, what this family, and then, like, my head started feeling weird, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I think this is, like, some type of eldritch knowledge you need to just not try to understand, and just know it was disgusting and that it happened. These guys outlasted all the other successor kingdoms, by the way.